Hey, how you doing, collective? And I'm back. I went on a hiatus. I went on a journey first, and then I went on a hiatus. I'm not really going to state that right what the journey was right now because I don't, it just doesn't feel not being led to. And it was a hell of an adventure. Learned a lot and experienced a lot. Some bucket list level stuff. And now I'm on a hiatus, and I didn't know how much of a strain um, my body was under. Sometimes when you're just going, and you're in survival mode, you don't realize, like what, like the mental effect. Like you feel like you're handling things well, and like it's not really phasing you, but like there's certain things that people, places, and things can do to your nervous system that of course naturally cause your muscles to tense up and causes misalignment in your skeletal system. So what I have noticed in this hiatus, I've been really like taking my time, and one of the things I made sure I did this time, instead of scheduling just a spa day and scheduling, but I have to be back at work at this time, and putting myself under pressure, which kind of counteracts a spa day and what it's actually for. I just took a hiatus, and it's been, and I'm actually comfortable in this one. Usually, I'm not. I'm breaking out of like this workaholism mentality I had, where it's just like, no, I gotta go back and hit like 2 months straight of work, and then I can relax. It's like I'm not, or 3 months sometimes. It depends on what's going on in my life, and what finances are talking about. And I'm not where I want to be, but I'm definitely breaking out of where I was. That was pretty. I was in poverty, not a poverty mindset. Just I had poverty people in my energy, poverty mindset people in my energy that I had to break free from, as you saw from the series of recent posts in the on my page. And I take accountability for whatever role, which would more than likely be fucking entertaining these people years back and feeding them that energy that they definitely did not deserve. And for however we separated, maybe I shouldn't have just ghosted people. And then it's like at the time, my body was responding to what my mind couldn't comprehend, um energetically, with that comprehend from what was the energy around me was telling me. Just like fight or flight, survival mode once again. So it's like every aspect of my life was in survival mode. And you know I've been, I always look at myself first, and like, hey, how much of this is my fault, right? And sometimes, and my solution has always been like, it's better to just leave, so I don't cause any damage that I feel like I'm causing there. And then I look back and like, no, like all that is not my fault. And in fact, come to think of it, not in a conceited way or blame shifting, most of it wasn't. I could sit and have a conversation, but I offered apologies, time to sit and have conversations, but all I got back in response was, petty BS, or like, a false energy that will come to me acting like they genuinely cared, and they absolutely didn't give a fuck. They just wanted to continue to play in my face, like, but okay. So I moved on. But what I have noticed since I've gotten away from all that, and I've been cutting these cords that I've been trying to cut for I don't know how long. I get, divine timing is a real thing. It's just like, I guess it's like anything you work at, you have to show that you really want, that you want to be done with that person, place, thing, situation. You have to really do the work. So I've been here on hiatus, kind of just solo dolo, like most of everything. Even when I had situationships, partnerships, I was really more solo dolo than anything. I did a lot of things alone, and it got to a dangerous level. So it's just, of like solitude and wanting to be alone. Like I feel like I need to be alone, or I care to be alone more than I care at abnormal levels. But time will decide that. But I feel like I really needed this because of like my whole entire life up until maybe a couple days ago, a day, or like I was like bound by I was binded to some people who were blood relatives or guardians, what have you. But yeah, back to what I have been experiencing as my nervous system calms down, and my psyche calms down, and I realize how much of it was my fault. I have apologized, and I apologize. I will apologize. I'm not gonna say every time, but I have apologized for any wrongdoing I had, any carelessness, recklessness, yeah, heat of the moment. That's a real thing, or just the weight of a situation. May have caused me to say and probably do some things irrationally. And I guess I'll leave it at that. I don't want to overdo it and just be like, trying to completely trying to be here or there with it. It's an apology, for whatever wrong that was totally not my fault in it. Like I did ghost a lot of people in my past, and that was the only option I felt like I had at the time. And that was, maybe it was my perspective, how I was processing things, and then, come to realize like some of these people, they really needed to go because they were parasitic to me. They were very detrimental to my mental, psychological, emotional health, and it started to turn into my nervous system and make it a physical problem, right? And so when your nervous system is affected, it also affects your circulatory system, raise high blood pressure. I had never in my life been told that my blood pressure was a little high until like I don't know a few months ago when I went to go get some blood work done for the journey I went on, and clean bill of health apart from that, and I've never in my life had high blood pressure. Not even close. My blood pressure, if anything, was dipped more to low. But then again, I was drinking a lot of coffee, which is what is it? A diuretic, and so it causes vasoconstriction. So that could have been it. It could have been the situation because genuinely, I'm just a happy person. I get my shit done when I can with what I have. If it is enough to get that thing done. If not, I will just put that aside and put it on myself later on for my mental health, my physical health reserves, right? Because in that time frame during that journey, I could not do any self-care. Like there was simply no time. But yeah, I've been here, doing my shadow work, and self-reflection, introspection, really looking at me and the situation, and also listening to the Most High God, talking to, and allowing the wisdom and knowledge to come in, the downloads. And my nervous system has been like slowly but surely like depressurizing, if that's even a word, which is, and I've been cooking my ass off too, which also like it soothes my soul, my entire soul. I love to cook. Yeah, that's just literally what I do for money. Sorry about the lighting, but this is what I got right now, and I feel like if I open the blinds more, it's just gonna add to that. But it's beautiful outside. I will be outside today. It is the weekend, so I'm gonna see what's going on in people world, right? And yeah, nervous system calm, blood pressure feels like it drops. Like, cause sometimes there's things that come with blood pressure, like your eye will start twitching, you start getting headaches, and then your body, most of your system's trying to like compensate to regulate that. Your body temperature is hotter, and yeah, muscles start constricting and like tightening on one side or another, depending on what the veins and arteries are connected to on that side, and the nerves are connected to on that side, because it's like cross patterned throughout your body to different muscles, right? Like right brain, left brain thinking, and things like that. And so as it reaches the muscular level, right, I could feel like my joints started to pop back into place, right? Pop back into like their natural state. Like I'll turn over my sleep, my lower back or my hip pops or whatever, like I was having sciatica for a little bit. And I also work out too, so that could also be a cause of it. And sometimes when you work out, one side is weaker than the other, you overcompensate this, that, and the third. But it was like abnormal for it to be this long. And on this journey, I was definitely working out every single day. It was nice, it's kind of like a requirement, and that's a requirement of myself. But now that I've been on this hiatus, I have not been working out every day. I've just been letting my body kind of reset into its natural balance, and it's been nice. Like I'll feel my spine align, uh, going to the correct alignment when I'm asleep, neck, shoulders, like all kinds of different pops in my skeletal system, you know, and that's a result of not having the tension in my muscles from working out. I just got back on it like a couple days ago though, and stretching and things like that, and drinking. I stayed up on the water. It's one thing I do is stay up on my water, vitamins, spices in my coffee and tea, herbs and spices, all natural food, not really much coming in from a container or anything like that. And, I have myself a little kicker in like a glass of wine or something, but, nothing heavy. I'm not, drinking 3, 4 a day. I might hit 2. I'm a lightweight now, like back in my 20s. Yeah. And then, but that's what, when people, like, it sounds crazy to some people, right? That people do spiritual attacks and they don't see how it could be spiritual in their actions and what they're doing, like when they're attacking certain aspects of life. And some people, and that's how the manipulators get over on them, because they don't know what it is and the consequences of attacking someone spiritually, because they don't realize that is actually a spiritual attack. They think it's just physical, what you can see, cause a person job loss or loss of money or business. And like, yeah, and I apologize because that situation, probably, like, in some of the things I posted, more than likely cost people business, but I'm like also looking at the same orientation, like it shouldn't have been happening in a place of profession, right? It's some things that should never be a part of the culture. Like the culture should have been like nip that shit in the bud, but maybe people were just in shock of the situation that I had been dealing with for years, and I had been basically desensitized to it, because I'd been handling the situation like a lot differently. I won't say better or worse, but with a lot more calmness and efficiency. I didn't put a lot of energy into it except for a post here or there, or I made certain moves. Like I've had to relocate several times due to this situation, because like noise campaigns, driving by with loud music, which if you look at it, that music is really damaging that loud bass and stuff. Scientifically, biologically, you're only damaging yourself. You're raising your own blood pressure and ruining your own nervous system. And yeah, so I guess have fun with that, because you're at a distance from me and you're sitting in the same vessel that is causing the loud music and the vibration to hit you, to the point you're more adversely affected than me, rolling over and going back to sleep. So, have fun with that. I guess they had fun with it. It seemed like they were, with all the crazy shit. And during this situation, I have had people walking around yelling stupid shit in regards to the situation. That's how deep it got. That's how widespread it got. Like, it was literally people walking around with name dropping at that. That was crazy. I'm like, really, these people need to be sued for slander for dropping names. But I digress, because I don't know whether these people said it or not, because I'm not there. I'm not checking pages. I'm not looking back at anybody. I said my piece. They know they were on the internet reading it, but they were probably posting, from what I hear on the internet, about stuff, and having people were yelling about it because they wanted me to hear it. But I'm like, I genuinely don't care, because once I leave it behind, all is forgiven, and I'm moving forward from it. Just because you forgive somebody doesn't mean you have to have anything to do with them. It doesn't mean that things have to go back to being the same. It's just like mistakes were recognized, learned from, and forgiven, and you move on. At least that's how I move. I don't expect everybody to move how I move. Clearly they don't, or think how I think, process things how I process things. And for me, I feel like there were a lot of things handled illogically, even on my part. And I definitely apologize for that, because I do, like, try to keep it logical, you know, like, and neat in every sense of the word. Like, for it to get this chaotic, yeah, that definitely didn't have shit to do with me, right? And it's like, because people running out and screaming on the street, do not try to control anyone. Everyone has free will around me. I'm not trying to control shit that a grown ass person does, especially. It's just like, you do you, but don't, if I warn you about it, I'll give the warnings, I'll give the messages. And another thing that was causing this situation probably was that I was holding on to messages that I didn't realize could be, you know, weren't traps for me, but freedom. And it would have been a trap for them. And subconsciously, I was actually protecting these people. Like, holding on to a loyalty to these people is like I had Stockholm syndrome or something. It was weird. Then I just like spewed the truth, like, recently, and it's just like, okay, a lot of that has dissipated now. And it, like, going through this shit for 20 plus years, because it was happening before, and then it escalated when I hit a certain situationship, right? And yeah, it really escalated after I left. Like, it was going on the whole time, and people were sitting right in my face acting like, oh, they didn't know anything about it, or like they never like saw these people, even though they claimed they talked to them, to the point they even ran out on the street saying how they beat these people's asses. And I'm just like, but nobody ever came to me with anything. And that was like a huge betrayal. Like, silence is not compliance. It's silence can be betrayal. And my silence was the betrayal of my own damn self. And I realized that, and I was like, after I spoke the truth, I was just like, what, this gotta stop. And then sometimes you have brain fog and you can't remember certain aspects of the situation. And it's not selective memory. It's just like, damn, I'm just trying to survive, and I got all this bullshit going on external to me. And, I'm going through shit that would like break many people. Like, it would have shattered them, right? And it's not even like bragging rights. It's just like, this isn't even something. These were people trying to force their way on my path in my life, because they saw the light. They saw my work ethic. They were mad about the work ethic. They saw, a bunch of potential, and they were, trying to either destroy, like, if we can't go with you, we're going to try to destroy that shit, and we're going to try to also capitalize and benefit off of that as much as possible via exploitation, because they were running around screaming about how much money they were making off, XYZ. I mean, a lot of y'all know the story who are looking at this. And moving on, another part of my anxiety is messages that I had not been putting out. I was holding on to that because it's just like I'm all like tied up in all these other chakras in my body, right? And I just like hadn't been feeling like getting on camera or even putting it on and getting the message out. So I was getting it out through, so it had to come out one way or another, right? So it came out in writing. And I just want to break it down. When you do something, somebody has nothing to offer you but money and gossip about somebody else. They don't have any solid advice to offer you apart from, acting a fool towards another person. That person does not have your best interest at heart. Matter of fact, taking money to do something crazy against another person, or just because, you just genuinely don't like that fucking person, right? And you get activated to go and like try to ruin their day, their mood, or something for them. That is a demonic attachment that person has placed on you. If you indulge too much, it becomes a possession where you no longer have control of your own vessel, right? And what you are doing is selling pieces of your soul, or all of it, for whatever you have left if you have not been selling already. And some of these people, they've already been selling their soul to the devil on other things they were doing in their life. And you could tell based on how comfortable they were, like, doing these things, right, to somebody that they didn't even know. And just running up to where a random stranger is located and start screaming shit out about a situation that is damaging to not only that individual but the companies and corporations that would be hosting that person or working with that person, right? try and attempt to sabotage, you know, money for that person, you're also sabotaging a lot of people around you. And mind you, there's a lot of neurodivergent people walking around, and a lot of us are starting to really just wear our headphones everywhere because we don't want to hear that type of shit. You know, like a bunch of unnecessary shit is just like, okay, neurodivergence, like we filter out bullshit that is just not necessary, right? It's just like it's not needed. Like it's useless information, and yeah, and it's not beneficial to anyone. You know, not even the people who are spewing it. And a lot of introverts, right? A lot of people with anxiety, they're also affecting those people who, you know, like they don't deal with noise very well. Their nervous system isn't wired. So it's like affecting all kinds of different people that they did not mean to affect. And I definitely did not want to be affected or afflicted by this situation, this parasitic situation. So it was energy harvesting off of, it was a big energy harvest, right? And not to mention there would be children in the stores that they would be blurting this stuff out in front of, like, you know, that didn't need to hear that, you know. But my page, you know, it also has some things that don't need to be read, but I don't post for children. Just know that my content, I usually put a filter on it that says not for children, you know, just so nobody's, you know, trying to run over them. It's like, oh, you know, but my kids, like, you don't, that means you weren't monitoring your child. That means you didn't have the parental blockages up. So I'm sorry for the people it did affect that had nothing to do with the situation and were simply trying to not even do the right thing and not even like really engage in the first place, because it wouldn't have had the power it had people taking a step back and really assess what they were getting themselves into and realize, and more people are starting to realize that it's not even worth the energy or thought to put into, because like why would you be telling a person this, you know, or how they're processing it based off how it comes out on the internet, because it's like text messaging. I'm not a big texter because just like a lot can be misinterpreted through text, and yeah, I've seen it happen, and I've seen it get ugly in situations. And when I text, I'm very direct, where versus if we're speaking, I can be, depending on what we're talking about in the situation and how we are connected, it could be very direct or it could be very melodic. It just depends on the, I guess, the level of intimacy of the relationship. Of course, like anybody, right? But yeah, text messages, or like, it's like this whole situation was a hugely public game of telephone. You know, if you play telephone, if you know what telephone is, it's like you tell one person one thing, right? Like in this case, it's on the internet, or this whoever these people are who are like repeating, you know, information, true and false, and negatively filtered, right, to try to ruin my reputation, right, or whatnot. Okay, instead of them trying to find out who I really am, right? Or like, okay, let's take the internet first. I posted based on, you know, my perspective. So somebody else reads it with a completely different perspective, and then somebody else reads it with a good, you know what I mean? And then the message gets like pushed down the line, and you know, basically weaponized after the operator, the switchboard guy, gets in, or female, gets into their head and tells them what perspective they should have about it, or who act like they knew me and try to distort my perspective and intention, and then they just, you know, down the line, so that, you know, telephone, you end up with a whole different message. Like, let's say the message is love and light to everybody, right? But short and simple, you know, your best intentions coming from that person, but then it's like, no, but she also said, you know, you're all, I'm peace, love, and go fuck yourself, you know, and I also use a lot of sarcasm in another post, right? And you know, it completely gets distorted, because it's like, oh, it's sarcasm, huh? And then, you know, this person already has a preconceived notion on you, plus a bias, right, against you. So then it gets delivered as a weapon directed towards you, as a dagger or a dart or whatever. And you know, like, it's more affecting them because they're the ones harboring the animosity in their heart. And me, I'm just like, I'm just moving on about my day with my earphones on, but I could feel, no matter what's said, I could feel the intention directed towards me. It's just, it gets weird, it's just like, okay, enough of that shit. Like, just chill out. Like, you don't even know the whole story. You're out here with, running your mouth all about it, and practically you could be aiding and abetting someone or being accomplished to somebody's crime, like their crimes or whatever that they would be committing right in your face. So it's just, like, why would you, and having you join them, being like, it just, like in a sly manner, seeing it as, oh, we're just gonna pick at this person and have fun. Bullying is never okay. I was always a person, like, you say I can't sit at your table, it's more than likely I really don't want to. It's not a table I want to sit at when you're sitting here, with the superiority based on superficiality. Or we're superiority at all, because it's like we can all apply ourselves and put our mental powers and prowesses to different things that could actually be beneficial to us and those surrounding us and those we love and care about. So there's that. And also, doing all that, going out of your way to do all that, it's like a false high. It's like that also affects your nervous system, and you on a soul level. Because you are what you practice, right? And if you're always high strung on trying to make somebody feel bad, that is a demonic demonic oppression and possession. So you're being, at this point, you're going out of your way to constantly do this shit. You're possessed and oppressed by the devil. Like, and then, it's harder, of course, the deeper you go into that space, then, the harder it is to get out. And you're doing it in order to try to put somebody else who isn't supposed to be in a dark space, does not desire to be in a dark space, is not living a life to put them in a dark space, right? So you're working more against yourself than anything, because like people who are dedicated to going to higher spaces have more discernment, and they see what you're doing, so it affects them even less. But the whole thing is like the whole cloak and dagger thing. They wanted to disguise what they were actually doing, which they were able to with the people they were able to get involved, or the people they already had a prefix hatred for, for me or anybody like me, or whoever, based on however they were able, whatever news or information they were able to deliver about me or that, or in someone in this situation, or so I'm gonna skip that for a second. Let me go get some water real quick.